The Skarloey Railway is a very popular vacation destination during the holidays. People come from all over to go on train rides through the beautiful scenery, which becomes even more beautiful when covered in snow. And when the passengers get to the top station, they're able to enjoy a nice prime rib dinner. The passengers enjoy the experience, but not as much as the engines like to keep busy making holiday memories. During this time of year, Mr. Percival has Duncan and Smudger doing dirty work, such as shunting trucks and pulling freight trains. This made them cross. They wanted a chance to pull a holiday train. Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel laughed. Mr. Percival doesn't trust you to take big passenger trains in the snow because you've come off the rails so much, they said. Rubbish, said Duncan. That was ages ago. Duncan's right. Besides, said Smudger, he wouldn't hold something like that against us. To be fair, you two are probably the most careless when it comes to safety, said Peter Sam. That's why he doesn't trust you with passengers. Duncan and Smudger didn't believe this, but I'm sorry to say that it was true. Although he wouldn't admit it, Mr. Percival was always hesitant about Duncan and Smudger taking holiday trains. One morning, Mr. Percival came to the sheds to give the engines their jobs as usual. Duncan and Smudger, I need you two to collect stone from the quarry. He turned to Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel. You two will be taking today's holiday train. It became overbooked, and we're adding extra coaches to it. That's why I need you both to pull it. They were both excited. Yes, sir, they said, and they set off. The lines they were on merged into one outside the sheds. Peter Sam braked to let Sir Handel go first, but the rails were icy, and he skidded along due to going too fast. Needless to say, disaster struck. They got put back on the rails, but they were also badly damaged and in no shape to pull trains. Duncan and Smudger pushed them back to the sheds. Well, 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 said Smudger. Who are the careless ones now? It wasn't my fault, said Sir Handel. Peter Sam was the one who didn't brake properly. Maybe if you weren't so eager to go so quickly, we wouldn't have crashed, said Peter Sam. An argument broke out between the two as Mr. Percival was faced with a difficult situation. He had no one to pull the holiday train. He phoned the quarry and came back to the two engines still arguing. Silence, he shouted. They quickly stopped. Duncan and Smudger, as you know, with Sir Handel and Peter Sam out, there's no one to pull the holiday train, he said. Thankfully, however, the quarry said Freddie and Rusty were already there, so they can take your stone trains. Therefore, you two shall be taking today's holiday train. Hurrah! They cried. Today is the day! Sir Handel and Peter Sam looked at Mr. Percival with concerned looks. Mr. Percival was already questioning his decision, but he had no other choice. The coaches should be at the junction, he said. Good luck and be careful. James was there dropping off the passengers. He saw Duncan and Smudger back down on the coaches. What are you doing here? He asked. You two don't take passenger trains at this time of year. Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel had a little accident coming out of the yards. We're filling in for them, said Duncan. Yeah, added Smudger. We're going to show everyone we can be just as good holiday train pullers as them, if not better. Oh, James said simply, and he puffed off. He didn't want to be around to see an accident. Then the guard blew his whistle, and Duncan and Smudger set off. They were doing surprisingly well for a while. We're doing great, said Smudger. Indeed we are, said Duncan. To think they didn't trust us to pull this train. Then they puffed by a village. There was a band which was playing Christmas songs. Say, this song's pretty catchy, said Duncan, and he got into the rhythm of it. Suddenly, he began to rock and roll. Smudger noticed this. What are you doing? He asked. Just getting into the Christmas rhythm, Duncan replied. Well, you might want to stop, Smudger said. It seems like you might derail. Oh please, you're just jealous of my moves, it sounds like. But they came around a sharp bend, and Duncan almost came off the tracks. Okay, maybe you're right, he said. That's what I thought, said Smudger, and they puffed on through the countryside. Presently, they were puffing over a tall bridge. Smudger wanted to get over it fast, so he began to charge ahead. Duncan felt a push. What are you doing? He said. Slow down. We're making good time. I don't trust this bridge, Smudger replied. It could collapse any second. Well, if you keep going too fast, we're bound to fall off for sure. I suppose you're right, he said, and he slowed down. Surely enough, they made it across the bridge. Eventually, they made it to the top station. Duke was there. He was surprised to see Duncan and Smudger pulling the holiday train. I thought Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel were taking the train today, he said. Duncan and Smudger told Duke what happened at the sheds. Those scallywags always find new ways to amaze me, he replied. In this case, it's how careless they are. Anyways, I heard there's been some snowfall down the line. Just thought I'd let you know, so be careful. Of course we will, said Duncan. Yeah, we're not like Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel, added Smudger. Back in the mid-Sodor days, that wasn't true, laughed Duke. I've changed since I've been turned back into an engine, Smudger replied. Good to hear. I have to go now. Just remember what I said about the line. When it was time to go, the two engines were cold and ready to get back to the sheds. Let's get a move on, said Duncan. My funnel's turning into an icicle. I'm with you on that, said Smudger. Let's go. They were going fast. They thought the sooner they got home, the better. Presently, they came to a hill. Let's charge it, said Smudger. Indeed, replied Duncan. I can already feel the nice warm sheds. But just when they were about to go over the top, they both remembered what Duke said about the line. They both slowed down, and sure enough, there was a pile of snow at the bottom of the hill. If we had sped down, we would have been off for sure, said Duncan. Both of the engine's crews worked hard to clear the line, but near the bottom of the snow, it was fairly packed and was hard to clear off. They didn't know what to do until Duncan's fireman thought of something. We could use the hot coals from Duncan and Smudger's fireboxes, he said. Smudger and Duncan were not keen on the idea. They're the only things keeping me warm in this terrible cold, said Duncan. But they knew it was probably the only option they had if they wanted to get back to the junction on time. All right, said Smudger, but be quick about it. It's going to be a cold trip the rest of the way. They set to work, and in good time, they were off again. They got to the junction in time for the passengers to catch their train. Well, I'm impressed, said James. I was sure that you weren't going to make it. Why is that? Asked the passengers. They were great. The controller should put you two engines in charge of passenger trains more often. Duncan and Smudger looked right at James with humorous looks. Oh, Pa, he said, and when the passengers finally got in, he puffed away. That night at the sheds, Duncan and Smudger were talking about the day. You know, said Smudger, we make a great team. Indeed we do, said Duncan. The only thing that would be better than us working together is if we were one engine. Ah, well, an engine can only dream, Duncan. An engine can only dream.